The views expressed and the opinions given by their guests do not necessarily reflect those of the Odyssey Files hosts, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
This is Susan Slaughter from Paranormal Caught on Camera, introducing you to the most epic show ever, the Odyssey Files with David Soyering and Michael O'Neill. You're welcome. Pew, 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 pew.
Oh!
Kim, what are you doing?
Well, I'm telling Mike and Dave, it's time to get on the show.
Oh, well, the Odyssey Files starts now.
Good evening, paranormal community. You are watching or listening, whichever one meets your fancy, to the Odyssey Files. I am your host, Michael O'Neill. With me, as always, is my co-host, Mr. David Soyering. Good evening, Dave.
Good evening, Mike. How are we doing on this unbelievable third week in August already? God damn, I cannot believe it's going by that fast.
Well, way to cut off my answer there. I got one letter out, and you're like all over it. It's amazing. Today's amazing.
Is today amazing?
So, today's amazing for a number of reasons. One, I didn't work. That's always amazing. Two, I had lunch with a very good friend of mine, which was very, very enjoyable, both food and company. And that went so long that I didn't have time to do the lawn. So even better, no chores.
Wow. Look at you, man. 3 for 3.
I know. And now 4 for 4 because we get to do this wonderful show.
Right.
And we do have a phenomenal show in line for you guys tonight. Not only do we have another batch of listener stories, but we are going to be talking about pretty much like the world's most famous ghosts. Not locations, not here in the U.S. World over, kind of the most famous ghosts. And Dave and I have not shared our lists, so we think that we might be coming across the same ones. I don't know, because he kind of went one direction and I went another. It's pretty hard to meet in the middle when you're both going different ways. But it's going to be great. A couple things that Dave and I want to talk about, announce before we get into everything. The first one being we want to give one of our special shout outs to a great friend of the show, Anthony, who for the last couple weeks has stepped up voluntarily and kind of ripped our show from the video version to the audio version so we could upload that then to Spreaker and all the podcast forms. So you would not have the audio version of our show without him for the last few weeks because something had been going wrong with my software or whatever picking Dave or any of our guests up. And we figured it out today. We fixed it. So now I can finally do my side of my side of everything and not have to rely on the supporters of the show in order to pick up that slack.
In order to put us out where we belong to be. Right. Yeah.
Exactly. So special shout out to Anthony for that. Both of us really appreciate it. And exactly. And
that's what super fans are for.
Exactly. Although I don't think we should have fans. We have supporters. We have friends.
Well, we've been calling Anthony a super fan for a long time, and he's never once been like, "Yeah, I don't want to be your super fan." So I'm assuming that he likes the title super fan. So I think from everybody, Anthony forward, they're supporters. For Anthony, he's the one and original super fan.
That's fine. Although granted, that would have been hilarious if I was like, yeah, that super fan, don't do that. and that was just.
And he still might, because he might not have thought of it. So now we might get a message and be like, "Yeah, I don't like the superfan designation." All right,
there you go.
We'll call you our number one supporter.
I'm all right with that.
I
So
think superfan sounds better, but
either way, so the second thing that we would like to talk about, which we're going to do here and then maybe even two more times throughout the show, is a special announcement for what is coming up next week. Because we have a very, very special episode in store for all of you, which happens to be our 240th episode. And a couple weeks ago, we had done a story that we ripped to shreds because it deserved it, about EVPs and EVP sessions in general and how to, quote unquote, properly do one. And we were talking about how we would try and do an EVP session from a historic location or a haunted location to show you guys kind of how we would do it. Right. Not saying that this is like the one and only correct way of doing it. Just here's kind of how two investigators who have been doing this for a long time, Dave obviously much, much longer than me, would do it. And we have arranged that for everybody. So next week, we will be broadcasting live from the Leduc Mansion in Hastings, Minnesota. We are going to have the director of that facility, Mariah, on the show for, I'm not sure exactly how we're going to shape it up. Session first, Mariah second, but we're going to have her on to just talk about not only the mansion, but the haunted history of it, experiences she's had, experiences other paranormal investigators have had, because it is open for investigation. Right. For teams. Obviously, there's a price, which is fine because that all goes to keeping up
the restoration of the mansion. And keeping it up. Right. And it is a beautiful piece of property.
It is. And so we are going to do. We are then going to do a live EVP session on camera and on audio for everybody to enjoy. So I hope that everyone who listens, watches, whatever, will join us live video-wise, either here on our Facebook page or on our YouTube page. Subscribe and be able to kind of see what the mansion looks like and see us, kind of doing our thing and in our element.
Absolutely.
So if we have two elements, radio and investigation at the same time, do we become a recipe?
Possibly. More than one ingredient.
You'll be able to see us in our recipe.
You'll be able to.
Oh, I'm sorry. There's something wrong with me today. That was horrible. As Larry the Cable Guy would say, "Oh Lord, I apologize for that one." So, okay, let's. If there's nothing else, I don't know if you wanted to say anything about next week or.
No, I'm excited for next week. I haven't been to Leduc in a while, and I think it's going to be great that we are doing a show live, and that we'll do a couple EVP burst sessions, and who knows, might be able to actually catch some evidence and be able to share it live. I'd like to do a little spirit box while we're there too, if we have time. Yeah, I know. Here comes the cat hiss. We could talk a little bit about equipment, bring a couple different pieces of equipment and actually show people what they are, because obviously you've got a lot of equipment. So I don't want to spend the whole show showing equipment, but we can show like a couple of main pieces, what they do, what they look like, stuff like that. And I think that, having Mariah on at the beginning might open up the door for the Leducs to understand what we're doing there. It's just, and then open up that kind of common, like, hey, it's cool that, Dave and Mike are here and let's go talk to them, versus having to come on at the end, so to speak, to do a recap. I think we'd be better off having her at the beginning, but that's whatever. We could talk about that as we get closer. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for next week. It's going to be great to do a live show.
I agree. Well, live on location. We always do a live show.
Well, right. We have done one live on location previous, which was the depot.
Yep.
Which was
The
kind
St.
of
Louis-
which was kind of fun and funny. It kind of was all over the place, you know. So hopefully this one will be a little bit more serious, but
yes. And then what I'm going to try to do, it just kind of popped in my head, is I'm going to see if I can make it to where if I hook up like my body cam to my laptop, if I may be able to make my laptop show what that is showing.
yeah,
And then I can share my screen. And then people could actually, instead of me maybe turning the laptop, could actually see what my body cam sees, as opposed to trying to turn the laptop or move around.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, for investigators who aren't using body cams, if you have an opportunity to show that, I'm telling you, when I first saw the footage from that, I was highly impressed how good the quality is. You know, it's the same kind of like the cop cams that, you know, like the body cams that the cops wear, but the quality of it, the only thing I would say is it needs to be mounted securely. Otherwise, it's like watching the Blair Witch. You might, like 5 minutes into it, you feel like you're going to throw up because it's all, you know, like that. So you mount it firmly to something so that it moves with you and doesn't do the whole jiggle and crappie flop thing. But the quality is great.
Yeah, the quality of it. The thing, and we actually, the team was over here yesterday doing evidence review. One of the investigations that we were doing involved the body cam because I wanted to get it out again. You know, I had it with me. It's an easy camera. You just slip it over, obviously, your collar, and then you're ready to go.
Yep.
And realized once again how important it is if you're going to use a body cam to make sure your posture is really good. And because the investigator who had it likes to hold the recorder out in front of them. And so that's right in line. So all you can see then is like the arm and the recorder, and that's it.
It focuses on the recorder. Yeah.
And as anybody who has done any investigation for a long period of time knows, you know, you when you sit down, you like to lean forward.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you do that with a body camera, all you do is stare the body camera at the floor. So you're looking at your shoes.
Right.
So you always have to be aware if you're using the body camera. And I agree with you, Dave. I highly recommend it because it is a very good piece of equipment to have, and the quality is really good, audio and video.
Yep.
But you really have to watch what you do with it, or it's going to be worthless.
So I kind of like the idea of almost like a GoPro with a head strap and put it on your hat. Because that way as your head turns, you're looking, you know, the whole time. But it's kind of big. It's obviously bigger than a GoPro, and we'll show that to you next week. You know, it's a lot bigger than a GoPro is and heavier. So I don't know how comfortable it would be wearing it on a hat. But
well, some of them are really, really light. But here's the problem with that, because I do have a pair of ghost hunters used to wear them years ago, but it was the full spectrum glasses.
Mm-hmm.
Jason always wore those for a season and a half or whatever.
Yep.
And the quality there was pretty good too. The only problem is the taller you are, like I am, I'm 6 foot tall, is it stares straight out. And so when you're walking around, you can turn left or right, but you lose everything right in front of you.
Right.
And so I actually started wearing it to where like the nose was like right here.
Oh, sure. So it would catch that angle. Yeah.
Exactly. And I was staring over the top of the frames as opposed to through the glasses.
Right.
So, I mean, you either need to be really short to wear those glasses or, again, tilt them down so you don't lose anything that's actually in front of you. So, again, equipment tips by the Odyssey Files hosts.
It is funny that you mentioned that, because I remember at Mounds Theater when we were watching the static cams and you had on the glasses, your whole head was just in a giant halo. Like you couldn't even see Mike's head. All it was Mike's body walking around and a great big, like literally like a halo of this white light. And I'm like, what the heck is going on there? And it was just the way that the two cameras were looking at each other and the IR lights coming out of the like the investigative glasses interfered with the way the other camera saw it. And it was just hilarious. And I was like, that's the craziest shit I've ever seen. So.
Well, I mean, obviously IR cameras pick up other IR. So the IR glasses had two IR lights.
On the sides.
On the sides. And so, it just blew up my head in light. It was a great.
It was funny.
If anybody wants to accuse me of being an angel, I have proof. No? Oh, all right.
I knew you were going there, and I was already prepared.
I debated for a couple seconds, and I'm like, it wouldn't be me if I didn't.
I did give you a great story though tonight to lead off with stories.
Yes, you did, and I already have my my answer for it.
I figured you did. So
all right. So I obviously segue.
Yep.
All right. Story number 1 for tonight. Heard my dead cat last night. Everybody who knows this show has just moaned or rolled their eyes. Like I could hear the eye rolling happening.
Yeah.
All right. So here's the story. I had a cat that died 4 years ago. What is interesting about this cat is that he would go out in the living room in the middle of the night and just scream hello over and over. He legit sounded like a person. I would have to warn guests that he would do this because it would freak people out. No shit.
Yeah, no shit.
Last night I heard the hello over and over from the living room, and it took me a minute to wake up enough to realize that I should not be hearing it. I sat up in bed and kept hearing it, so I ran out to check. The noise stopped. My other cats were sound asleep, plus they have never ever made that noise before. I have no idea what to make of it. It definitely was not a dream like some of my friends have suggested. Also, he has never lived in the house I'm currently at. I did move around a lot with him, and he screamed hello at every house we moved to. Do you think it was my cat coming back to check in on me? First, cats do not check in on anybody ever. I know Dave's gonna debate that, but I believe that the only reason a cat would come back to check on you is to see if you are close to death. So that if you are, it's in a proper position to suck in your soul, like which was what its goal was when it was alive.
To smother you at the right moment.
Well,
right.
That was when it was alive.
Right.
Now it's dead. It's just there to.
It's just there to reap your soul.
To inhale, yes. To escort your soul to its demonic master. Wow. So I have encountered cats who, when they are in heat or meow or whatever loudly, it can actually sound like a human. I mean, not like you're going to sit down and have a conversation with it and it's going to like have full sentences.
No.
But I mean, its pronunciation and the sounds that it makes, those really easy words that like hello, can actually sound pretty good. So 2 things with this. One, the fact that you have my other cats makes me worry about your health, both physical and mental. And 2, did you roll your eyes, Dave? I don't know. I thought I heard
No, not at all. Nope.
The second thing is, if anything, and I don't know if you can call this residual. Can residual have an attachment to it? Because I mean, it's never been there, but I don't see how it would be there to check in on you, but it's out in your living room doing its meowing. Like, I don't see how those correlate with each other. So I mean, right away, I want to go to its residual, but it's never been in that house.
Right.
So that energy should not be brought up there unless it's connected to something that you have. Like maybe you took something of this cat's and gave it to your other multiple cats.
Like a collar or something. Yeah.
Exactly. And and that is what, somehow got released, whatever your other cats were doing, and you were able to hear it. But no, I mean, I don't think that, especially after 4 years, your cat intelligently and a conscious entity came back to meow in your living room. They're just not, they're too lazy for that, even in spirit form. So that's all I got.
All right.
Go ahead, Mr. Sawyer.
So, well, I do think, obviously, I've had experiences where pets have come back, and we've talked about that, where my cat, the only reason that
to see if you were dying.
Yeah, only reason that Shadow came back, I think, is because of the way he passed away. We've talked about that in the past. So I don't think he realized he was dead. So he did come back and hang out for a little while with the family and with my kids and stuff. And then he moved on. So there's two things here. Number one, I don't think that this ghost cat showed back up at all, because if it had, I think your other cats would have responded to it. Because as we've talked about hundreds of times, a lot of animals, let's just say most pets, I think all animals probably can, but the ones that we actually kind of have studied a little bit would be dogs and cats. They would respond to another cat being in the house, even if it was a ghost cat, because they would sense its energy. So the fact that they were laying there still crashed out sleeping while this other cat was running around the living room screaming hello, doesn't make any sense to me. I'm losing something there. Secondly, I think that there's a possibility here that it never was your cat that said hello, because you never said you actually saw him saying hello. So I think that maybe it's always been a haunting, and that maybe there's been something paranormal following you around, and that this entity is kind of lost and is saying hello, and your cat would go out into the other room to check it out. And so therefore it wasn't even your cat at all in the first place that's the one that's saying hello.
I think that's a stretch. I would think that
it's a stretch, but it never says I've witnessed my cat saying hello. It just says I used to hear my cat go out and say hello over and over and over again. Well, first of all, as an animal lover, if it's the middle of the night and my cat is going out in the living room and it's screaming hello over and over and over again, the cat's going someplace other than the living room. Just saying. I mean, I love animals, but I'm not going to be up all night long listening to my cat screaming hello, hello, hello in the living room. It's either going to go out in the garage, it's going to go outside, it's going to go someplace else other than the living room in the middle of the night screaming hello. So I don't know. Maybe it wasn't this cat, or maybe the cat was possessed. Maybe the cat did scream hello, but maybe the cat was, its body was overtaken at nighttime.
Cats are born possessed.
Maybe it's what they call a walk-in.
Like
you're no, yeah, I like Christopher Walken. But no, a walk-in, whereas your soul leaves and another soul walks in to your physical form.
I could get behind that.
Yeah. We're going to bring that up in a future episode. I saw that
Walk-ins?
the other day while I was doing some research. Yeah.
Sure.
Kind of an interesting concept. It was first originated in 79, so fairly new concept, but interesting. I don't know that there's a lot of scientific proof behind it, but then again, we work in a area field of expertise where there is no scientific proof for anything that we do. So not having scientific proof doesn't mean anything to me. Gotcha. But I don't know. I don't think that it was her cat. I'm just going to say that because I think the other cats would have been. And I'm with you. I don't think the cat was coming back to check on her because I don't think her cat that died 4 years ago gives a shit about. He would have been. I'm just saying he would have been back prior to 4 years. It wouldn't take him 4 years to come back and say hello.
Maybe he was that lazy.
Well, he doesn't sound like he was lazy. He was up all night long, walking around screaming hello every night. So I don't know.
I honestly think though that cat was trying to perform a satanic ritual and trying to welcome the demonic forces into the home,
conjure up some sort of deities.
Exactly. So I think that that was the shrieking that the cat was making. So
could be.
Again, if you got cats, don't. Get a dog. Dogs are amazing.
Dogs are amazing. All right, moving on. Number 2, I am experiencing glowing, scary eyes in an old mirror, seeking some answers and explanations. Since moving into my home in June of 2020, I realized a strange effect in the one bathroom mirror. For background, it is a very old home built in 1912. I've never noticed any paranormal occurrences in this home. So, after taking a hot shower, when the mirror steams up, my reflection in the mirror shows my eyes glowing with strange, large black orbs that glow brightly. Really, really scary. Like a radiating halo of black in the center, and then glowing white radiating out to approximately the distance of where my eye socket ends. It almost looks like a hole where my eyes are, like a skeleton. It's difficult to explain. It also hurts my eyes after looking for too long, not dissimilar to looking at the sun. Well, obviously, we all learned as kids when we did our science project of eclipses, you're not supposed to look at the sun. It only occurs with steam on the mirror. Every person, even those with different colored eyes, contacts or no contacts, I've shown this mirror to, has seen the same phenomena. It does not photograph, and I'm unable to see the effect in anyone else's eyes when looking at the other person's reflection. There is another mirror directly across from it. When looking at my reflection of the affected mirror, in the not affected mirror, I can still see it. So if that makes sense to everybody. So the mirror is here. They're looking at the mirror is here. So she's saying that she can see herself. She can see her reflection with the creepy eyes in the other mirror. After discussing with my family, my mom says she generally avoids the mirror entirely, even when it's not steamy, since it gives her a bad feeling. Is there a scientific explanation for this? No. Could this mirror be haunted? Yes. Please let me know if anyone has experienced this. Okay, so I would have to see this mirror, all right? But it sounds interesting as hell. I find it interesting that you've got 2 mirrors across from each other. I don't know that necessarily is creating any type of vortex, but as we know, there is things in the paranormal that we do that I can't remember the term right now. What's the term when you got 2 mirrors opposite of each other and you sit in between them?
Oh, right. The psychomantium?
Psychomantium. Thank you. And then, so obviously you have that effect. Then you've also got the effect of what some people do, and I have done in the past, is scrying, where you look into a mirror and you try to communicate with the dead or see into the paranormal world by staring into the mirror. And then, depending on whether it works or not, you can see things in the mirror. So what is happening here is something, I don't think it's either one of those 2 things, but I think it's interesting. I think it's something that I don't think the age of the house has anything to do with it. Once again, people assume that because a house was built in 1890 or 1885 or 1912, that it's haunted. Your house could be built in 2021 and it could be haunted. It doesn't always necessarily mean that because it's an older house that it's haunted. That said, I think that what is happening here is this mirror at some time in its past was used as some type of ritual. Maybe it was used as some type of seance activity. It was used as some type of activity where they were trying to conjure something. And so this mirror possibly has become kind of a vortex, for lack of a better term, where this mirror is supernaturally charged and it is active as a in and out portal for the paranormal. Why you see yourself with these funky eyes, I don't know. I don't have an answer for that one. I would love to see that mirror. If everybody who looks at that mirror sees that, I would love to see that myself. The fact that it hurts your eyes, like staring at the sun, again, I don't have an answer for that because you shouldn't be staring at the sun anyway. So I don't know what that comparison really is alluding to. But my advice would be to have the mirror cleansed or remove it. That's what I would say. Either get rid of the mirror or have it cleaned. Like, and I don't mean cleaned with Windex. I mean cleaned, like spiritually cleaned.
So
that's what I got.
I'm going to take the direct opposite of you, and I like that, the fact that this story brings out the two different sides instead of just like, I agree with you wholeheartedly, Dave. Yep. I don't, and this for the very specific reason that they can recreate it. Like, this is not something that happens sporadically. They take a shower, it steams up, doesn't matter who it is, they see themselves in the mirror with that. That to me throws out the paranormal, because they can recreate it anytime they want, which means it's more scientific than it is anything else. So when I was reading this, the first thing that came to mind is matrixing. There's something in the mirror that when it steams up, it changes how it looks. And I don't know why it has that sort of kind of result to it. But I mean, a lot of people know, especially with old mirrors. I mean, we talk about Myrtle's Plantation and that mirror and that thing. And they're like, well, there's smudges on it. Well, not only that, but the backside of the mirror.
Right. The silver fading.
Also gets, the silver fading. It chips off. It gets old. It gets worn. That could be something that is coming forward when the mirror heats up. The steam might not have anything to do with it. It might just be temperature.
Right.
And it allows to this, whatever this effect is going on, to come forward and be more prominent. I would probably agree with you if it wasn't for the fact of they can do whenever they want.
Yeah, easily repeatable.
Exactly. Which, as science would say, means that there's something natural about it. Mm-hmm. The one thing that I would tell that I agree with you, get rid of it. Just change out the mirror. And I think you'll be, maybe you should try this. Switch the mirrors if you don't like it. The mirror that is not affected, put that on the other side.
Right.
And look into that from now on and see which side it is. But I agree with you. I don't know why you would have a mirror across from a mirror.
It sounds weird, especially in the bathroom. Like, why do you, I'm just thinking, as you walk into any bathroom, when do you ever see a mirror across from a mirror in a bathroom?
I don't. The only reason that would ever happen is if whoever was there beforehand wanted to see both their sides. They wanted to know if their back side of their hair was properly done by looking through, a reflection of a reflection.
Right. I guess. Yep.
When I shave my head,
missed a spot that one time.
That's why.
Right.
Now, I take my phone and I turn it over and I swoop it around the backside of my head.
Make sure you don't got that little colic thing you had that time. Yeah,
exactly. And and make sure. So I mean, that's the only thing that I can think of as to why you would need two mirrors across from each other.
Yeah.
Still not a good idea, because you can turn it into, you can turn it into a portal. You could turn it into a vortex, or whatever. I don't think these people are trying to do that, so I think they're probably safe. But yeah, I don't think there's anything paranormal with this mirror whatsoever. I think just switch it out, take the old one down, put a new one up, and see if it's still there. Then I'd be more interested in the paranormal side of things. But right. I don't think it would.
I'd still like to see it for myself.
I think it'd be cool just to see. But again, I don't think that there's anything paranormal to it.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Residual energy. I just read that title and I was like, this is the most boring thing ever. I already know my answer. It's residual.
Except it's a good question.
Well, it is. And then I read it. I'm just saying that was my initial response.
Yeah, right.
All right. I would like your opinion on residual energy. It's residual. Move on. I know it usually is attached to a building or location and is basically history repeating. It's vague, but yes. Over the years, I've become a strong believer that residual energy is just everywhere for us to pick up. Just that it is being the location someone has not a particular event.
Someone has been, not a particular.
Someone has been. All right. Oh, that location someone has been. You're right.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not a particular event. As if their presence, energy, or even their voice is imprinted on where they've been, and we can pick it up if we focus on them in that location. One example is my grandmother, who died when I was 10. Only 4 years ago did we read her journal from the 1940s. It described where she lived and where my grandfather worked, etc. I went to that city and walked a route along all these locations. For me, even all those decades later, I felt I could pick up their energy, as if I was making a connection because I walked a place, saw an area, and was where they once were. Same as when I visited a spot, a tragic event happened, an accident or suicide. I know it can just be my imagination running wild. I was wondering if others feel this way about residual energy. Okay, so there's like 3 different things that I want to respond to with this one. So you're right about residual energy. I mean, residual energy is just, a tape recorder, history repeating, whatever. The thing that I don't agree with is that if I walked into my neighbor's house, tomorrow for the first time and never again, my energy is not going to be there. There's just not enough to it. Like, you really have to be there and imprint yourself, which a simple walkthrough or one investigation is not going to do. Which is why a tragic event is often what gets replayed, when you come to these historical locations, if you're talking about residual energy, because it was such a traumatic event that it exploded energy out into the universe, out into the walls, whatever. But the other kind of residual energy that you see a lot of is grandma cooking or hearing the cupboards and something at 5 a.m. you would hear pans in the kitchen because that's what she did for 30 years straight.
Right.
It's the repetitiveness when it comes to that that makes it so the energy gets stuck there. I don't think we can. Maybe I'm just misunderstanding the term of pick up, because I took it originally as like pick it up and carry it home with us, but I think he's just saying pick up on it.
As sense it.
Sense it, exactly. Now that you can do. I mean, that's being an empath, especially. I think that's a very big empathic ability, is to sense that energy. I mean, if you are empathic, which it kind of seems you are, because you talk about how on multiple locations you pick up on certain types of energies. Mm-hmm. So I think with you being an empath and you walk those routes, and maybe that if your grandma journaled about it for so long, they probably had a very good, long-standing, connection to this place. And I'm not surprised that you were able to pick them up. But I guess my question is, how do you tell that you're picking up on your grandma and grandpa as opposed to somebody else's grandma and grandpa? I mean, are you that good that you could pick up on a street corner or wherever you are? Oh, I'm sensing my grandma and grandpa were here.
From the 40s.
From the 40s.
Right. So there's been a lot of other energy that has moved through that specific pinpoint spot.
Right. So, I mean, if you could pick up on the energy of what felt like a grandma and grandpa, just in general, like that feeling of having the grandparents there, not necessarily yours, just in general, I think you could do that. But I don't think any empath can be like, I feel the energy of this specific person 40 years, 80 years later, whatever it is. I don't think they can do that. That's just my personal opinion. If I'm wrong, let me know. You can definitely sense residual energy, but I don't think that there's going to be any residual energy there unless a tragic event, which blast the energy out, or a long-standing, repetitious kind of routine has happened that has allowed that all that energy over the years to be absorbed?
I I take a little bit of a different path. So when I read this the first time, I was like, okay, it's an interesting thing. And now after listening to you kind of dissect it, it's almost like there would have to be residual energy A and residual energy B, because I agree with you 100%. And we've had stories like this, and I've had clients, and you've had clients that would say, you know, I can hear somebody putting the dishes away in the dishwasher at 11 o'clock at night every night. I hear the back door open and close, and somebody hang up their keys and a couple of boot steps, as if dad was coming home from work, and that's what he did every single day. And that creates kind of an imprint there. Now, why that imprint happens would be repetition. That's the only reason that would happen. If that's what, and the same thing like you just said with grandma doing dishes at, you know, she got up to bake fresh bread every morning, or got up to make breakfast every morning at 5 o'clock for the rest of the families, to, you know, whatever. If that's what she did, does that create a residual energy moment? Does repetition create a residual energy moment? From stories that I've read, from experiences that I've had, from experiences that people have shared with me, conversations, whatever, I would say yes, it does, but I don't understand how it does, because I don't understand why repetition would cause residual energy. I don't thoroughly understand it. To me, residual energy is more along the lines of an event happening, and that's why there's residual energy. So for this person who's writing in, it says just that it's being the location someone has been, not a particular event. I don't agree with that. I think, to me, residual energy happens because of an event. And taking Mike's example, if he walked into his neighbor's house for the first time, walked in the front door, said, "Hey, how's it going? I saw your dog was running down the street. I grabbed him, brought him back for you. I didn't want anything to happen to him." You know, and they're like, "Oh my God, thank you." Oh, you know, and he's like, "Hey, not a problem. I just wanted to, you know, let you know that, you know, he's okay now." And you left. To me, there's not going to be any future imprint there whatsoever. If you walk into your neighbor's house and they're in the middle of a domestic dispute, and he's about to shoot his wife, and he turns around and shoots you instead, and kills you in the doorway of that house, that energy is going to leave a stain. Now, whether or not it's going to come back frequently, I don't know. I don't have the answer for that. I don't know what causes residual energy, like what I don't know what energizes it to allow it to come back over and over and over again. But to me, that would be something that would leave a stain for residual energy. So I'm kind of lost on this one as far as like walking down the same path that your grandma took. I think, to me, that's just like memories. I'm not going to say that you're feeling their energy. I'm going to say that you're just sharing in a memory that your grandmother wrote about in the 1940s, when her and grandpa used to take the walks to the corner deli. And if it still happens to be there, and she wrote about all the great moments they had there, and great conversations they had there, and you happen to walk the same path, you're just following in her footsteps and sharing that experience 80, 90 years later. I don't know that you're having a residual energy moment, to be honest with you. So,
Agreed.
you know, I think I think that residual energy, I think the term residual energy gets thrown around a lot. You know, I think it obviously, for us as investigators, it's a convenient way to explain something that is happening that is not what we consider to be of an intelligent type of haunt. That's where we use the term residual energy a lot. But I don't know that residual energy is just randomly waiting out there for you to just go walk around and find it. I don't know. I'd be hard pressed to get behind that. And again, just my opinion. So obviously there's going to be others that are going to listen to this and be like, "Dave, you're way the hell off in left field." Okay. If I am, I am. and I respect your opinion. So, write into the show. Let us know what your thoughts are. Be more than happy to talk about it. And if you've got a really good reason for your beliefs and you really want to talk about it, maybe we'll have you on the show. We'll give you a half hour to come on and debate residual energy. Okay. Do you have something to say?
No.
Oh,
I
heard
was
you
just gonna say-
inhale, so you're like,
Oh, well, I guess I was. The only thing that I was going to say though was, or you can come in and or come on and debate us in any fashion about any topic.
oh, sure, absolutely.
So
We just happen to be
that's all
talking about residual energy at the moment. So
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know of any old cursed painting signed 666? I found one when I was a child, triple exclamation point. That means it was serious. Hi, guys. Have you heard of those cursed paintings of children crying, landscapes, villages, angels with children, etc.? They were a fad in the 1980s. Many people used to have them at home. I'm talking specifically about Brazil, but they were famous all around the world. And there were lots of stories, like the painter sold his soul to the devil or portrayed children who were sacrificed. And having them at your home could potentially affect your family. When I was a child in the 90s, I used to play at my neighbor's house a lot, and they had some of these paintings. One of them showed a European village, perhaps an old English village. I vaguely remember a man, perhaps a peasant, other gentlemen, perhaps horses. I'm sure it was an old village. I was standing there looking at the details, and I found on the lower right corner a small, inconspicuous, but clear signature painted in red, 666. My neighbors said that they never noticed that, and that these paintings were old copies of famous paintings which were around the house collecting dust for decades. As far as I remember, the number was actually painted by hand as a signature. It wasn't later added to the picture as a joke. Have either of you heard of this? Okay. Have I heard of paintings getting signed 666? Off the top of my head, no. Does that mean that they don't exist? Obviously not. Do I know what paintings in general you're talking about? Yes, I do. Because this is along the storylines of the boy crying paintings, and there are some pretty amazing, there's some pretty amazing documented stories of if you have this painting in your house and these abnormal fires happening in your house with boy crying. And we talked about this on a show a while ago, that having this painting in your house, that there's potentially something about this painting that causes abnormal paranormal type of activity in your house. This particular painting, though, leads specifically to fires. And there have been documented cases where houses have burned down and the fire department has gone in and the only thing left is a picture of boy crying, and it's completely unscathed. Now I'm talking the fire department spraying hoses, chemicals, water, the whole 9 yards, fire blazing, burned the whole entire living room to pieces. It's all singed and burnt. And there on the wall is boy crying, and it doesn't even have a dust mark on it. No, not singed, nothing. Do I think it's the work of the devil? No, not necessarily. Do I think it's odd? Absolutely. Do I know that there were other paintings in that kind of same time frame with landscapes and villages and stuff? Yeah, I've heard of that too. I'm not an expert on it, but I have heard that too. You were a kid when you saw it. I'm not discounting the fact that you didn't see the 666. As a child, I mean, obviously, if you saw it, you saw it. But I cannot say that I have ever seen a painting of an old English village signed 666. And then my question would be, what makes you think that the painting is cursed? Because what happened in your neighbor's house that would cause you to think that this painting was evil, or that it was put there by some devil worshiper or some demon or something like that? What would make you what happened in the house that would make you think, that there was something demonic about this painting? Your neighbors said they never noticed it, and they were just old copies of original paintings that were collecting dust around the house for decades. So I guess my question would be, what is it specifically that would cause you to think, other than the three numbers, I'm sorry, other than that, what would be the thing that would cause you to think that it was something evil? But I will say, if you have boy crying, and especially if he's in the blue outfit, get rid of it. I'll leave it at that.
Or you'll lose your house.
or you're in trouble. You're just tempting fate. If you have boy crying, you're tempting fate. So
I think this is actually, for me, going to be a very quick answer, because I don't think there is anything that is leading him to believe that there's something wrong with this painting besides that 666. I think that the whole 666 thing, with the same as like the 3 knocks, is blown way out of proportion. Like I as you were talking, I was trying to think back to all of like the re-dramatizations of like demonic cases and shit like that.
Yeah.
And that I've seen over the years, and I can't remember a single one of them where 666 had anything to do with nothing.
Honestly,
in fact,
I can't either.
The only time that I've ever seen 666 used in what was supposed to be a demonic case was an episode of Ghost Adventures where they went out to some place in Seattle, and like the person was claiming that the monk took his pants and nailed it to the ceiling, and they had spray painted 666 on the ceiling.
Right. And they were like, how in the hell did this? Yeah.
And it had hoax written all over it.
Yeah, where the Bible burned. That's where his Bible ignited, started on fire, and right.
If that is, I don't know. I think I turned it off.
Yeah,
but
no.
But
I don't think that was a legitimate anything. I think that was just a hoax.
Right. Exactly.
I think the client was perpetuating that. Is what I mean by hoax.
Oh, that's what I meant too.
Right.
I didn't. No, for the first time, I wasn't claiming Zach and the boys were
hoaxing
doing
something.
this.
Yeah.
I think they were encouraging it, but that's about it. But it didn't start.
They even threw the bullshit flag.
Yeah, and they should. But so I mean, the fact that somebody signed at 666, especially if it's a very old painting, I don't think has anything to do with nothing. Just let it be. If all it is your uneasiness at the fact that you noticed the three numbers, and that's it, I think you need to get a hobby and move on with life, because nothing bad is going to happen. I think this almost goes with the same. Can I invite paranormal activity in by watching Ghost Adventures? No, you can't. Just by having a copy of a painting that has 666 on it isn't going to bring demonic activity to your home. So let it be, and stop being so paranoid. Let us be paranoid for you.
Exactly. and if you do have boy crying in blue,
well, besides that, I mean, that
get
is
rid
like
of it.
that has like some actual documented stories.
It does.
Behind,
yeah.
You know, so I agree with you on that one. I'm just talking about 666 in general, not cursed or haunted paintings.
Right.
So, all right. That's all I had on that one.
All right. That's all I had too.
All right. Oh, good. Somebody is writing my theory on death. Let me just sigh here.
It's kind of interesting, though. That's why I chose it. So.
All right. I believe that we never die. We just simply jump to another consciousness in an alternate universe. I myself have vivid memories of a car crash that took my life. Then I woke up from a nap and it's like nothing ever happened. The thing is nothing was the same. People seemed off, if that makes any sense. Like they don't remember certain events or conversations. What do you guys think? So honestly, reading this for the first time, so maybe judged a little too quick, but
it's a legitimate question.
I have actually asked this question during investigations a lot. especially more recently, at the places that I've been multiple times, the cemetery, the Leduc, which we'll be at next week. And that is, is it fair to say that they're dead? If they are an intelligent entity who can respond to your questions, is it fair to call them dead?
Right.
I've called them living history. I've asked them, do they consider themselves to be dead, or do they consider themselves still to be alive? I mean, honestly, if I have my memories, if I pass away in a car accident and I'm like, I love this house, I'm not going nowhere, and I stay here for another 30 years or whatever it is, freaking the hell out of everyone that comes after me. But I'm aware of it. And I know that I'm dead and I have all of my faculties. And if somebody turns on the recorder, I'm like, get out of there. I'm in an awful
Get out of my
voice.
room. That's what it would be.
Yeah. Stay out of my room.
Fix the dishwasher. God damn it. It's been so long.
I would hope that they would do that.
Well, right. I would too. But if they didn't, it'd be something for you could jump on them.
I'd put that in my will.
Put it in there. Fix the floor where the water leaked and fix the dishwasher.
Do a fundraiser here, at my funeral. Everyone throws in 20.
Do a GoFundMe, exactly.
And fix the damn dishwasher in my honor.
Right.
and the floor. But honestly, would I consider myself dead? No, I don't have a body, but I am still here. So, I mean, I guess the wide question is, where does death actually happen? Does it happen when you lose your physical body, or does it happen when you lose the sense of who you were in this lifetime? Or do you never die? I mean,
for me, I would say when the meat suit goes.
So
when this transport vessel that I'm using momentarily dies, because it's science. I mean, that is scientific, right? I mean, you're going to be able to tell at some day that this thing that I am wearing is dead.
Yes.
I'm not going to be dead, but this is going to be dead.
Okay, so then why would you consider yourself dead then? If you are,
I wouldn't. But
you just said that you would consider the line.
Well, I would consider this. I consider this to be dead. Well, because you're only giving me two choices. If you're giving me two or three choices and I got to pick one of them, I'm picking this one. I'm picking when my meat suit goes, then I would consider myself dead. But I would not consider myself dead because my consciousness is moving forward. You never die. I don't think that we ever die.
Well, then you can't say that you're dead. If you never die, you can't be dead.
It's a relative term. Your consciousness doesn't die. Your body does.
Right. So, I mean, I guess then the question, we're getting very philosophical, and I love it.
Well, that's fine. Let's get philosophical, because your body is going to die someday, and that's a fact. That's the term that's been given to it, and it's a medical fact that a coroner is going to examine your body on a slab, and you're going to be dead.
Right. But is that the correct term? I know that's the term we use.
It's the term we use. Right.
It's the term we use, but is it the correct term if you consider your life to be your soul and not your body?
And absolutely not.
So what we have to do is we have to start using different terms.
Right. Or you have to be distinct in saying my body is dead, but I am not.
And that's kind of how I phrased my question during investigation. I say, I know that you are no longer in a body. Do you consider yourself to be dead?
And that would be a great avenue to take in a line of questioning like you just did. That's an impressive question. I can't believe that came out of you. I mean that in a good way.
Of course you do. How else could I take that, Dave?
Oh my God.
I can't believe you thought of that. But I mean that in a great way.
I do. I mean that, like, I pat myself on the back like I taught you something years ago.
Yeah, because that came from you.
No, it didn't come from me. You evolved from me, obviously.
Right. Okay. So anyways, so I mean, with this guy's theory,
yes,
I don't necessarily go with the whole alternate universe, although I think it may be possible. It depends on where the universe wants to put you.
Right.
I mean, I don't know if you would so much die in a car accident and then the next second you're waking up from a nap. I mean, that just doesn't make any sense. I mean, you have to have some sort of life in another body to get up to that nap time. So, I mean, are you suddenly remembering another lifetime? That happens all the time.
Right.
You know, that when people dream and have visions of other past lives. We've talked about it on the show multiple times. We've talked with Cena about it.
Yep.
So, I mean, let me go back to this. So, I
would find it hard to jump to another consciousness. You know what I'm saying? I'm with you on that 100%. I also think that, like, when you're talking about waking up from an event, I think it would be difficult, like, to wake up and then people don't understand, like, conversations you've had or situations that you've shared together. I find that to be strange, you know, but does it mean that you jumped consciousness? I don't know. It's a pretty deep question. I told you it was a pretty decent question.
Right. So, I mean, I judge
bad headline, good, bad title, good context. Right. It's like last week.
But I mean, it's honestly a question. I may bring that up on the next Odyssey Hour, because I think that is a very, very pertinent question.
It is.
That whether you're a paranormal, enthusiast or investigator, whoever,
right,
or not, like, that is a conversation that you can have with anybody. Where does death actually occur? And it's all going to be based on their beliefs. I mean, do you believe in reincarnation? Do you believe that the soul goes on? Or is this is it? And there are people who believe this is it. You die, you're dead. Done.
Yeah, I can't subscribe to that.
No, neither do I. But that's because that's not our beliefs.
Right.
But I have met people who do definitely believe that once you die, you're done.
Right.
That's it.
Yep.
Good luck to you. I guess not good luck to you, because that means you're going to go on.
Yeah. Basically that you're just, that you're just worm bait at that point.
Yep.
That is just all darkness. That's just, to me, that's just a very kind of end of days, dark type of, like, I don't know. There's something missing in people who think that. And that's just my opinion, but I'm just saying, like, that to think that, like, you get one shot and then that's it, with all of the amazing thing that's happening around us every single day on the planet Earth, all of the incredible things that happen to you in your life every day. I find it's kind of like the flat Earth people to me, like, there's still that population of people who think that the Earth is flat, and that why don't ships ever do this, and why don't they only go to a certain point, turn around? Yeah, no, they don't.
I would like to have, not to change the subject, I would like to have a future show on round Earth versus flat Earth.
Well, we'd have to have some guests on, because I can't take a flat Earth opinion, so there wouldn't be any, like, you know what I mean? We'd have to have a flat Earth person on and listen, and I'd be more than happy to listen to what their belief is and why they believe it. Now, just to say, the Earth is flat and that's just the way it is, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about actually, like, give me some background on why you think the Earth is flat. There's got to be some sort of proof out there of why. Like, give me documented evidence, or what you think is evidence of why the Earth is flat.
Yeah, you might as well say that you brought in a demon by watching Ghost Hunters. To me, I would not have the patience at all. You might as well just put a big picture of a cat on the screen for the entire hour.
You got to evolve, Mike.
I'm trying, Dave.
I know. It's part of the evolution, buddy. Got to let people come on and give their opinions and stuff.
I'm dancing with evolution right now. So sometimes it's 3 steps up, sometimes it's a step back. A little electric slide action. Sometimes a little bit left.
I get it. So anyway, it's a good question. I think it's a good question. So
it's a very good question. I agree.
All right. One more, or should we jump into famous ghosts? Oh, no, we got to do one more because I got to read this one.
Okay.
All right. A special friend. In September of 2021, I had a life-changing encounter. A very unique interdimensional being walked into my life. I say interdimensional because I don't know what else to call him. He's not a ghost or a spirit. I can see him out of the corner of my eye, and it's like he has a cloaking device on. It's like a shimmer. That's what I call it. I can hear him click softly sometimes, and other times he sounds like a lizard flicking his tongue. Most of the time he's quiet. I could talk to him in my mind and sense when he shakes his head yes or no. I can feel that movement. At first, I was scared and felt uncomfortable because he's always with me, every second of my life. He goes with me wherever I go. He helps me out in life and also protects me. I know this will sound weird, but he sleeps in my bed next to me. At first, he just sat on the floor, but I felt sorry for him and invited him to share my bed. We watch movies together, and he only likes certain genres. He doesn't like horror movies at all. He's become my good friend. We even laugh together. He never actually talks to me. He says he's not supposed to. Now, how do you know he said he's not supposed to if he never talks to you? But I know he can if he wanted to. I can feel him touch me like a physical hand. Sometimes he gently caresses my face when I'm going to sleep, and he loves to play with my hair. That's how he introduced himself, actually. I call him Sully. We have a good situation, and I really love him being around. I don't know where he came from or why he is here with me, but I don't mind. It's a unique experience, and one I'll have the rest of my life. I see it as a blessing now. Okay. So this, to me, right here, is one of two things. This is either a reptilian alien that for some reason is bonding with this person, or this is exactly how a demonic possession starts. And I mean that seriously. This is exactly how somebody who's been broken down over time allows something into their life, and that moment when you open that door, that demon walks in, that negative entity walks into your life. And right now he's just at the you're my best friend, I love you stage. And that stage of happiness is just to get closer and tighter and closer and tighter. And that's going to change. And when that changes, all hell's going to break loose. And he's going to be in so deep that, man, it's going to be a miracle to get him out. That's why I brought this story in here. This is that's exactly how it reads to me. Right. And you could go the path of, obviously, this person's having some mental illness or mental breakdown or whatever, and they need to go see a therapist to get some help because obviously something's happening that isn't really happening. But this is a paranormal show. So I'm sticking with paranormal angles, not clinical science angles. So I try to stick with paranormal angles when we talk about stuff. To me, this is exactly how a negative possession begins. That you want to call it demonic, that's fine. Use the term demonic possession. This is exactly how it starts. You let him in, you see it's on the floor. Don't sit on the floor. I feel sorry for you. Come on up into bed with me. Comes up into bed with you. Now you're allowing physical touch. Allows you to brush his face, brush your hair. Doesn't bother you. You know, at first you didn't want to be touched. Now you're allowing touch. Now you're allowing this. Now you're sharing movies. Now you're sharing thoughts. You're sharing feelings. It's exactly the basis of the movie The Exorcist, when the cardinal showed up and Reagan started letting these little things happen to her and started seeing the guy and letting things happen. And she became friends with him and letting him come in. And then he stepped through the door. And as soon as he stepped through the door, all hell broke loose. That's exactly what is happening here, in my opinion. So, I know you're not going that direction. So
no, I'm not. So please forgive my harshness with this.
It's okay. Not going to offend me.
I wasn't talking about you. I know I'm not going to offend you, and even when I do, whatever. I was talking to our listeners. Obviously, mental health is very, very serious and important. I just think this person is absolutely crazy. Only because there's so much hypocritical bullshit going on. Like I can sense whether it's yes or no, and he can hear my thoughts. And he told me that he's not allowed to talk to me, but he never says a word. Like it's just there's this circle of crap going on. And I can at first I thought same as you, like the clicks, the kind of the cloaking device, maybe not reptilian, but alien, extraterrestrial. But the basic fact of he's there all the time, every second, that just leads me to believe that it's more of a mind thing than it is paranormal. And so to your point, though, the one that you made about how you like to stick to paranormal angles. Well, mental health is a paranormal angle. Like we have to tell clients sometimes, we hope that's not the case, that they should probably go and see a psychologist or have their head examined. I mean, not in such a harsh words, but go and get checked out to make sure that there's not a neurological issue that is making them hallucinate these events. So, I mean, this person's age really needs to come into play. I mean, the person writing it's 13,
Right. It could be obviously a hormonal thing.
I'm going to look at it a lot differently than if it's, a 45-year-old lawyer, or just pick the job out of the thing, but like a 45-year-old who's been in life for a long time and no mental health problems, none of this stuff. And all of a sudden that might lead me to believe that something else is happening. I don't necessarily buy into the demonic part of it because I agree with you that there's a way that they could go about it. And the whole trust issue is definitely something from their playbook. I've just never heard of something like this happening. It's usually the little girl and they're like, invite me in, like they're talking to them, trying to get them to do things. Whereas this one is just, yes, no, now they laugh together. I mean, it doesn't have the sense to me of being demonic, although if it's not a neurological issue, it's weird as shit. And I don't say that often because weird is what we do. Right. So, but the clicks, the kind of, and I'm gonna show this. So, Maddie, who you're very familiar with, Mr. Sawyering. I honestly, when Dave was reading this, like I thought, is it like your the hell word I'm looking for? Spirit guide. But when they started talking about the whole shimmer and they laugh, and like that just doesn't seem like a
laying in bed together every second of the
playing with the hair. It just doesn't seem to me that. I mean, unless you got a guardian angel in training and they're just not very good at their job,
right? Or they're like an extrovert of love,
like they're gonna like, okay, here's your first test. You have one person to guard,
right? One person to take care of, and you're like, oh my god, it's my person, and you're like just smothering them. Maybe.
But that was a theory that came to mind. But the basic of what he or she, I'm assuming it's a she because it plays with her with the hair.
Right. I'm assuming it's a she.
Yeah. Just does not. It doesn't feel demonic, and it definitely doesn't feel like a guardian angel. It's either extraterrestrial or it's neurological, in my opinion.
Well, I'm throwing out the neurological and challenging you to give me an answer. So I'm throwing away the neurological aspect of it. So if it's not neurological, if it is something paranormal, what would your answer be?
I just said that. It's either neurological or it's extraterrestrial.
But it can't be extraterrestrial because you already threw that out and said that ET's not going to be with you 24/7, 365.
Maybe she only thinks it's there 24/7, but it's not. Maybe when she falls asleep, he gets up and does other work.
Sees his other loved children.
Yeah, sees a movie, flips on her TV and watches the Spice
Not
Channel or
not
something.
horror movies though. Yeah, probably watches a lot
Not
of
horror
sports.
movies.
Right.
I wonder if it watches porn. I'd like to know if they watch porn together.
That would be a question that would come out of your mouth. It does not surprise me one bit. I'm sticking with my original answer. I think that it's something dark, and I think that that's just a really slick way to work your way into a human soul.
It is a purely academic curiosity, Dave.
Yeah, I agree. I think that I'm going to stick with what my original thought was. I think if this was a follow-up type of thing, like this special friend, there's going to be some like, holy shit, my special friend is causing all this shit in my life. You know, that's going to be the next question or next statement or whatever, you know, is my special friend isn't really my friend, you know, triple exclamation point.
And then my answer would change if that's
right.
The fact.
Right. Well, I would hope so. But
yeah, me too.
All right.
All right, here we go.
Should we announce again our big deal coming up next week?
I think really quick. So those of you who are just joining us or fast forwarded through the first part of the show, as you're listening later, shame on you, absolutely, because it was a great first hour. But next week, very special event coming on for our 240th episode. We are going to be live at the Leduc Mansion in Hastings, Minnesota. For the entire show, where we are going to interview the director live there at the home, and we are going to be doing a live EVP session while obviously again on air with you guys. So look for that. Look for that next week. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a very interesting show, and I hope that maybe Alice, who is one of William Leduc's daughters, and I've caught an EVP of her every time I've ever been there. Maybe she'll set off the recording, or not recording, but the REM pod or the Periscope or something. Because I think we'll have to lace whatever room we're in with just tons of equipment.
I think so.
I
agree with you. I think we'll put up some, a couple REM pods and millimeter, whatever. And as we're doing the show, stuff starts going off. Kind of let people see like what the excitement pops in is.
Yeah. Disclaimer on that one. I don't have a couple REM pods. I wish I did.
No, yes, one.
I have one.
Well, one with a broken antenna.
Yes, and a millimeter.
Millimeter. Right.
So, all right. Hour 2, which is we are going to be talking about the world's most greatest or most well-known ghosts. I tried putting spirits in and had like 4 pages of liquor. So
that's okay, because I put in Bloody Mary, and the first 10 pages were Bloody Mary recipes and mixers and cocktails. So I'm like, no, that's not although I do appreciate that type of Bloody Mary. That's not the Bloody Mary I was specifically thinking about for tonight's show.
Right. So just as a precautionary measure, you need to be very specific to the paranormal when you're putting in your Google search terms.
Right. Yes, you do.
Because the word spirit definitely has multiple definitions, and the paranormal one is not the most famous.
No, that shows up on page like 87. And every one of them before that is all about liquor.
Yeah, pretty much. All right. Well, this is your idea, so why don't you go first?
All right. So I'm going to start from being from Chicago. I'm going back home. And this is probably one of the, at least for the Midwest, and especially for the Chicagoland area, one of the most well-known, popular kind of tales, folklore, what do you want to call it, ghost story, famous ghost story, is of Resurrection Mary.
Resurrection Mary.
Yep, Resurrection Mary. Now, the reason I chose this one, too, is because also in if you want to say folklore and ghost stories and in passed down stories of supernatural, the hitchhiker is another, really is like the umbrella of Resurrection Mary. So in the term the hitchhiker, there's all kinds of stories about hitchhikers, and that's really what why I just chose Resurrection Mary because that's where I'm from. So tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of stories, hundreds of thousands of stories about hitchhikers that show up middle of the night, the guy in the red flannel shirt in the Bridgewater Triangle that you pick up, and then he gets in the car, and then you turn around and he's not there. There's stories from everywhere, all over the world, about hitchhikers that you pick up and then they're not there. Resurrection Mary happens to be my backyard story. So involves a young woman who wanders the streets around the Resurrection Catholic Cemetery, Resurrection Church, the Catholic Cemetery, and the legend states that she was a young woman in the early 1930s who really loved to dance. She was out one night and kind of befell a tragic event as she was trying to get back home, and she didn't make it. So her spirit now is seen by many people and reported by many people that have picked her up, actually, to be down in that area, down around Resurrection Cemetery. And she doesn't appear to be in any ghastly form. She just looks like a young woman. And she hitchhiking, grabs a ride. You take her to the gates of the cemetery. And as soon as you get to the gates of the cemetery, when you turn around and look, she's gone. Assuming that she is going home to where her burial is in the Catholic Cemetery at Resurrection Cemetery. I have not personally experienced her. I tried, like when I was younger and I lived in the area. Like we legitimately drove around trying to experience her. Like I've been around that area, drove hundreds of miles around that area. I've done all of the Chicagoland type of ghost stuff, and it's interesting. I wish I would have had an experience with her because I think it's pretty cool. A lot of the stuff I read on it, it's like, oh, she comes in there and she scares you to death and done it. That's not what happens. This ghost story is not about evil and resurrection of anything evil or dark or anything like that. She's simply trying to get back to someplace safe that she considers to be safe. And you happen to see her, you pick her up, and that's all. She's just with you. She doesn't harm you. She's not there to harm you. She's not there to scare you. And when you drop her off, she just simply kind of disappears because she goes back to where she's originally wants to go. I think that goes hand in hand with a lot of the worldwide kind of hitchhiker phenomena, ghost stories, where I don't think there's any hitchhiker ghost story that I could think of off the top of my head anyway, where you pick up a hitchhiker and next thing you know, you're running for your life or you're, thrown into the pits of hell or something like that. It's always just, they're there. They're in the back seat of the car. You get to where you're going, you turn around and look and they're not there anymore. And you never saw them leave. And, obviously the car door never opened because the lights never came out, blah, 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 blah. So
I know that for Resurrection Mary, like there are even some stories of gentlemen picking her up and taking her dancing.
Yeah.
And
now, I have heard of those too. I don't know if those are legit, but right, that she actually materialized good enough that she actually went dancing with these guys, gentlemen.
Yeah. And then they're like, can I drive you home? And she's like, sure. And they drop her off at Resurrection Cemetery.
At the gates of the cemetery, and then she's gone, right?
Yeah. I'm glad that you brought up the Bridgewater Triangle hitchhiker, because when you brought up this hitchhiker, of course, Dustin Perry's story of that came to mind.
Oh, yes. God, yes.
He just really, really quick, because I think it's funny as
it's hilarious.
F.
Yes.
He lives in that area, and he knew about this like flannel shirt, hitchhiker that he's always wanted to
guy. Yeah.
Yeah. He's always wanted to see it, and he's always wanted to experience. And then one day he was driving down like that, I think that highway.
It was that highway.
And he saw a red flannel, lumberjack looking gentleman walking, and he's like, "This is it. This is my chance. This is my moment." Yeah. And he pulls up alongside and he throws open the passenger side door. He's got this huge grin on the face, and the guy just looks at him and
keeps on walking.
Slowly shuts the door and just keeps on walking. It was a real person.
Yeah.
Oh my God! When
It's
he told
hilarious.
that story during the E convention a couple years ago, oh my God, I was rolling. I was laughing so hard.
It was funny.
But no, I like Resurrection Mary. I don't know how much she's known outside the Midwest, but if Unsolved Mysteries knows enough about her to do
a story,
to do a story on it, it's got to be fairly well known. So my first one, which everybody knows, although according to this, there's been a lot of different renditions of what the story actually is, and that is the Flying Dutchman.
Mm-hmm.
You know, pretty much the number one most popular, well-known ghost ship.
Yep.
And, you know, from back in the 17th century, I found it on a couple different sites, and each one of them pretty much said that the Flying Dutchman had like a very prideful and I mean, I guess you could say idiotic captain who decided that instead of finding safe harbor during a very, very nasty storm, decided to challenge God to take him, his crew, and his passengers down. You know,
That's probably a bad move.
He thought that they were going to sail right through it, that they were perfectly fine, and they ended up, you know, going down, obviously.
Yeah, obviously.
And I mean, obviously, and the story about this changes to, you know, they obviously just sank in the storm. They were cursed to, you know, to go down. Obviously, you see it in Pirates of the Caribbean, which I think is the biggest kind of leap with the story, because it not at all, you know, in its original form, is this ship meant to carry souls to the other side, like that, you know, like Pirates of the Caribbean. It has been seen many, many times, pretty much all over the world. I saw one instance, it was seen around South Africa in 1923. But it kind of comes up as like a light or even a translucent type image, but it always carries like a sense of dread. Like it's kind of who's that horse? Pegasus. Is that Pegasus? No. Alcatraz. What? The horse? No, not Alcatraz.
Like, what the hell does the Rock prison have to do with horses?
No, not the Rock prison. I'm talking about the horse that was supposed to be good luck on ships until somebody killed it. It's like there's like a big poem about it. I don't know. To see, somebody knows.
Got me.
Okay?
That one I don't know. I never heard of a good luck horse on a ship.
Well, anyway.
Sorry.
Sorry. But anyway. Yeah. So that was my first one. Was the
I gotta look that up now that you said it.
good luck ship horse.
I'm like, wait, like, what the hell are you talking about?
Knowing Google, if you put good luck horse, you'll probably see a bunch of dongs.
No.
Well, now I want to wait.
Horseshoe.
No, not a horseshoe.
No, I know, but that's all that's coming up.
Well, I'll look it up. But
you can look it up
anyway,
while I'm doing my next story.
Yeah. So I mean, the Flying Dutchman is just a pretty much just a ghost ship that people see all around, and is supposed to be some sort of prelude to something bad happening. You know, it's a premonition of something bad happening.
Gotcha. All right. Was that it? Are you going to look up your thing?
I am, but go ahead.
Okay. So I am going to stick with a theme here. The name Mary.
Right. So hold on just really quick. So no, not yet, because I didn't even get to that part.
Oh.
So I don't know why this is the most popular thing, but I typed in good luck, you know, because I was going to say good luck horse on the ship or whatever.
It's a bottle of booze.
And the first thing that came up was good luck to you, Leo Grande. Which apparently is a movie, I guess, that is coming out, I guess. So anyway, I just thought that was really weird that would be the first thing to come out. But
Well, I
all
put
right,
in
go on.
"Good luck horse on a ship" is what I typed in, and like the first entire front page is nothing but horseshoes and the history of superstitions of horseshoes. So, obviously, all right. So I am sticking with what did I say? Oh, I'm sticking with the theme. I'm sticking with the name Mary. And now this one comes back from my childhood, and I think a lot of people's childhoods, is the kind of the folklore, ghost story, legend of Bloody Mary, where you would get together, like let's say that you were having a sleepover as a young teenager, you're having friends over, spend the night, and everybody would gawk into a dark bathroom, face a mirror, light a candle, and chant Bloody Mary 3 times while staring at the mirror. It's said that if you do, that you will conjure her. Sometimes she'll show up holding a baby. Other times she will show up and tell you how she's going to come and take your soul. I find it interesting. I don't think I've ever done it. I don't think I've ever said it 3 times. I think I've been one of those people who have been like, yeah, I'm just not going to tempt fate to that point. I just don't feel the need to tempt fate. Plus, growing up, I had enough other shit going on. I didn't need to invite Bloody Mary into my life. So I find Bloody Mary interesting in the fact that it has been witnessed supposedly by numerous people for centuries. I don't know if I believe it, but I don't know if I would do it. I think there's enough kind of folklore behind it. There's enough stories behind it. There's that certain percentage of probability in that we don't understand necessarily how to conjure something, that there might be something to this story. Maybe it's more than just simply saying your name 3 times in the mirror. Maybe something else has to be happening, and we don't know what that is. And so sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't. That could be like part of the recipe for it. But I kind of put Bloody Mary in the league of Candyman. And even though it was just a movie, that movie's kind of disturbing. And so I've never said Candyman 3 times standing in front of a mirror either. So, all right.
Albatross.
That's a bird, not a horse.
Whatever. It is a member
That's
of the animal.
That's why I didn't get it. Just
I don't know why I thought it was a horse.
I'm thinking of a horse. What the hell is he talking about? All right. Well, now I know why I was out in left field.
Okay. Well, whatever. Anyways, we'll just move on from that.
We'll move on from that one. Yeah.
No need to ever discuss it again.
No.
So, I mean, again, when it comes to the whole Bloody Mary folklore of it, I mean, it's a mere, you have the intent of trying to, either the intent or the fear that you're going to summon something.
Right.
And so, I mean, honestly, Bloody Mary is just another version of a psychomantium. You sit in front of a mirror long enough, you're going to see what you want to see.
Right.
And so, I mean, I know people have quote unquote been seeing it for centuries, but again, how many of them trick themselves? I mean, I would probably say all of them, but is
this the case where, because it's been told so many times,
we create it,
that we actually created this thing, and that it's actually true now, and that it actually potentially, maybe it is real now, and maybe it picks and chooses who it wants to visit. It could be like the Hat Man. Maybe it looks for a weakness or a specific type of person it can influence.
Could be. I don't know.
And then it shows up. Or maybe it just loves like 11-year-old girl sleepovers. Where it just, everybody runs in the bathroom and giggles and laughs and then shuts the lights off and then says it and then freaks the shit. Somebody grabs somebody else and everybody wets their pants.
See, it sucks that he chose 11-year-olds, because now I can't be like, well, if I was a spirit, I would do that. No.
Right, because that would be a pedophile. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be.
So if it was a bunch of like 19-year-old college girls who wanted to freak each other out after a binge drinking night.
In a heartbeat. Sign me up.
Exactly.
I will be Bloody Mike for the rest of time.
Yeah. Jump right through the mirror. Grab somebody by the waist.
I'm
It's
sorry,
Mike.
Dave. Dave, I wouldn't grab the waist.
It's a somewhat of a family show. My daughter's listening, so I'm just being polite.
I told you there's something wrong with me tonight. So this is a extra special night. I'm excited about tomorrow, or not tomorrow, but next week.
Next week.
So, for my next one, as I told Dave before the show, I kind of went a little outside the box. And even though, like Bloody Mary and Flying Dutchman and Resurrection Mary are all, real life claimed to be spirits, I thought one of the probably the most popular ghost, spirit, whatever you want, is the ghost of Christmas past, present, and future from the Christmas Carol. Everybody knows who they are, and it kind of goes right along with the whole can spirits travel? Are they limited by time? I mean, time is a construct that we as the living people have come up with. So, I mean, there's Cena, especially, you mentioned earlier in the show, is a big proponent that time has no meaning. You can go forward, you can go backwards, you can do whatever the hell you want because it's just energy, and energy knows no limits. So, I mean, it kind of brings, and if anybody doesn't know the story behind the Christmas, the Christmas Carol.
Well, shame on you.
Exactly. I mean, we even have Dustin on to talk about the Christmas Carol specifically.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't think I need to go into it. Obviously, Ebenezer Scrooge, blah, blah, blah. But I just thought that, in the spirit of what we're talking about, that was probably the most popular spirits out there.
Yeah, I would get that. I don't know if it's, I mean, if you're throwing, when you say most popular as far as maybe world known, I would agree with you.
Well, no. Yeah.
Well known. Yeah. Although I think like anything, there's probably a certain percentage of people who hate Christmas and like have never watched,
Well, they don't count, Dave.
I agree.
They don't count.
Mickey's Christmas.
Mickey's Christmas is amazing. I watch it every year.
Absolutely amazing. Yeah.
Every year.
Every year. I do too. Yeah.
Every
Just like I watch Christmas Vacation every year because I don't care if I've seen that movie, which I've seen it probably 300 times. I still laugh my ass off.
As you should.
As I should. All right. So we are going to travel a little bit to the east and do what is known kind of as the most popular Japanese ghost story. Kuchisaka Onna. That's my best stab at that. Also known as the Slit Mouth Woman.
Ooh, like that.
Yep. So story has it that this woman, there's a bunch of different variations on it. One of them, she was wife of a ninja. Another one, she was a wife of like a ancient samurai warlord. But the bottom line is that she did something wrong, infidelity. One of them says that she didn't produce a son to continue that line. And the husband became very disappointed in her, and he took his samurai blade and sliced her from ear across her mouth to her other ear. So kind of like the Joker, but a little bit deeper and not like necessarily a nice grin. Thereby disfiguring her and causing her to never have another man ever look at her again. That creates this hatred within her. She doesn't die, creates this hatred within her. And she seeks vengeance. Now, this is the point where I get lost, but if you're Japanese, you probably know more than me about it. She goes after kids. So what she'll do is she'll walk up to an adolescent and she'll ask them, "Am I pretty?" And she wears is important. She wears especially in our times now, she wears a covering over her lower mouth. So kind of like what basically what everybody's doing right now with wearing, or was doing with COVID, wearing masks, right? So her face is basically covered from her nose down. She walks up to an unsuspecting individual and says, "Do you think I'm pretty?" And if you say yes, then she takes off her mask and she says, "Do you still think I'm pretty?" And if you say no, she kills you, presumably with a blade, which is kind of her weapon of choice after being disfigured with a blade herself. If you say yes, then she cuts you the same as she has been cut. So that's that's a shitty situation because that's a lose-lose. The other part of that I read, which I thought was pretty interesting, was that if she if she asks you, "Do you think I'm pretty?" and you say no, she just kills you right off the bat. So you're toast right there right from the get-go. The good part here is, though, there's a way out, according to what I've seen, is that if you give her like some off-the-wall response, like she says, "Do you think I'm pretty?" and you're like, "You're average," or something to that effect, then she doesn't have a response necessarily. So, that's not a response that she reacts to. So basically, she just kind of walks away from you. One of the other things that I read when I was looking it up is that you can offer her some hard candy. So it's always so. I don't know why hard candy is going to make a difference to a woman whose mouth is completely slit open from ear to ear, but it's just going to fall out if you think about it logistically. But that's one of the things that you could do. So I guess in Japanese folklore, if you're traveling alone, always have some hard candy in your pocket. And if somebody says, "Am I pretty?" just say, "You're average," and you should be okay. Which I thought was very interesting.
Before you got
Creepy
to,
story,
it is a very creepy story. Before you got to, "There's a way out," I kind of started chuckling because he actually was like, it's not what I think, it's what you think.
Turn the tables on a little ghost psychology.
It just matters what's on the inside, man.
Right.
Jolly Rancher.
Yeah, exactly. Look, I got your favorite, green. Don't you like sour apple? Everybody loves sour apple.
Nobody likes sour apple. Fuck sour apple.
Oh, sour apple. It's the best Jolly Ranchers there are.
Orange and grape. Although there is a fruit punch Jolly Rancher, which is really good.
There's a lemon that is phenomenal. Really sour.
We need to stop talking to each other.
Yeah.
But no, that's for some reason that sounds vaguely familiar. I don't think that's the first time I've heard that story, but it's been very long time.
It's been in some movies. Yeah. It's been like in Japanese folklore and like ghost stories for centuries that they've talked about this woman. There are some movies that were done kind of using her, that image anyway of the slit mouth woman. So, maybe you saw something like that. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. You're not big into Japanese horror movies though, from what I know. So no.
Nope.
But popular. It's been around. They've been around for a long time. And since we said we're going to kind of take a look worldwide, that's what I grabbed from the East.
Gotcha. All right. So one of the things that I was coming up with a lot was all American stuff. So I wanted something from, across the seas, and figuring that, you probably weren't, because nobody really would think to do this. I searched for like Russian, ghost stories and stuff like that. And there are a couple of them. Joseph Stalin is actually up there in like ghost stories there. He's seen at his summer house a lot, I guess. But we're going to travel way back to the 1400s for this one. So the last of the, and I can't pronounce hardly any of this shit, but the Byzantine Emperor.
Byzantine
Emperor.
Yeah, Byzantine.
The Tsar Ivan III. He wanted like this grand cathedral to be built inside the Kremlin. And all of the architects that he, I don't want to say hired, but, had do it, couldn't do it. The walls kept crumbling. And so they decided to search outside of Russia. And it was a very, very long time before this Italian architect, Aristotle Fioravanti, something like that, took the job and got it all done. But as part of it, to help keep some of the secrets, he built a whole bunch of like tunnels and secret, like rooms and stuff like that inside what he built. And the Tsar, I mean, it spells with a T. I don't know why it spells with a T and not a C, but the Tsar.
Just Tsar.
It is still just Tsar?
That's how you say it, is Tsar. Yeah. Like it's a Z. The TS is a Z in Russian.
Oh,
it's weird. It's just the way that they pronounce stuff. So a T and an S together is a Z.
Yeah. So, in order to keep all of these secrets of all of these tunnels and secret rooms, like with them, this Tsar forbid him, this architect, this Aristotle, to go home. And he tried for the long, like, I guess he even took place in some like military campaigns. And when he saw like his chance to escape, he went for it, but was caught at the border. And he was imprisoned in this, let me see if I can, it's like Tainted Kaya. It's a Kremlin tower, I guess. And he was imprisoned in this tower. And then records just ceased to ever mention him again. So he just disappeared from history. And so people think that they probably just killed him or left him up there to just die. They even say that sometimes that he's walled up inside the tower.
Ooh.
But apparently, and this is the legend, is that Russian leaders have seen Aristotle Fioravanti ghost as like a prelude to something bad happening. I guess Vladimir Lenin had something. Joseph Stalin had a run-in with him before the Great Patriotic War. That was the end. I mean, obviously after Stalin, word out of Russia got a little hazy.
Right.
But yeah, I guess he's kind of like a Mothman a little bit, where people have seen him all the way up to Stalin as a warning of something bad that's going to happen.
Wow. Well, watch
Go
out
Russia.
if you're Russian. Yeah, I was going to say,
Yeah.
Go Russia. Exactly.
Go Russia.
Sweet. All right. I'm going south of the border to the story of La Llorona, the weeping woman of the Southwest. Legend has it that she has been seen since the days of the conquistadors. Conquistadors. Tall, thin spirit, said to be blessed with natural beauty and long, flowing black hair. Wears a white gown and roams the rivers and creeks, wailing into the night and searching for children to drag, screaming to a watery grave. So here's the background for the story. I found two different avenues, so I'll briefly go over both of them. One of them, she was a very, very beautiful woman, very, very gorgeous. She was sought after by men of royalty and men of commonness. She had two sons.
Just men.
Yeah, exactly. Just men in general. She had two sons that she did not have a husband for. And she would go out, she would wear her finest white gown and go out at night and receive the attention of the men. And that's what made her feel good and, made her feel special, that she was receiving all this attention from these guys. So that would happen that she felt like it was a drag that she had these two little boys at home. She felt that that they were kind of interfering with her life. So one day she took them down to the river and she drowned them. Now, the actual story says that they found the two boys dead in the river, and whether it was out of neglect on her behalf because she was out gallivanting with the men, seeking attention, or whether or not she did it herself, nobody knows for sure. That's one avenue. The second avenue, which I like better, is that she was a common woman, again, very beautiful, grabbed the eye of everybody, who actually married a very rich and successful man. She bore him two sons, and he, it was like this perfect little family life thing until it wasn't. When he basically, after his two boys were born, he started kind of gallivanting around again, drinking, womanizing, didn't pay any attention to her, paid attention to his sons, but really didn't pay her any respect, kind of just considered her to be the birther of his boys, and that was about it. She was walking down a path one evening, and a carriage was coming, and it was her husband. And in the carriage was a very elegant, beautiful woman sitting beside him. He stopped the carriage and he spoke to his children, but completely ignored Maria, which is the name, I guess, the Christian name that was given to La Llorona. And then continued to drive the carriage down the road without looking back, totally disrespecting Maria, not showing her any love or anything whatsoever. After seeing this, Maria went into a terrible rage, turned her rage against her children, who she seized and threw them into the river. As they disappeared downstream, she realized what she'd done and ran after them, but it was too late. They were dead. And the story goes that she continuously walks the riverbank in her white gown, which is now not quite so beautiful, looking for her two lost boys that she threw into the river. As she's doing this, she coaxes other children to take the place of her two lost sons, which is why that's pretty much where the story goes, is that she is kind of a, I'll use the term loosely here, demon, that basically calls children to their death along the river. And if she gets a hold of your children, that she will drown them so that her children can have play dates in the afterlife.
Fun.
Yeah. So stay out of Japan, or just use the words average, or you're beautiful inside, like Mike said, and carry Jolly Ranchers. And if you see a woman in a tattered white gown that used to look beautiful and she's walking along the riverbanks, do not stop your vehicle. Don't get out and talk to her. If you got kids in the car, just speed right on by.
Or hit her.
Well, she's a spirit. That ain't going to help. She'll probably end up in the damn back seat and grab both the kids and jump out before you can realize what happened.
Well, if she's willing to put in that much effort, maybe she should get him.
No, she's not getting my kids.
No. Your kids are all grown. They're
my
fine.
kids can defend themselves now. They're good.
Yeah. That spirit has no need for your children.
No, and actually it was made into a movie, which actually was not very good.
Shocker.
Yeah, I watched it. I didn't, I was like, really? This is a horror movie? This is more like a historical movie on, folklore from down in Mexico way.
Yep. So the last one that I have, which is one that Dave and I think have even done a show on before. Very, very popular, although I think it's more popular for what it inspired as opposed to the actual story.
Oh, can I guess?
Yes.
The Bell Witch.
Yes, exactly. The Bell Witch, which for anybody who doesn't know, was the inspiration for the Blair Witch Project.
Great movie.
I agree. A lot of people didn't like it, but I thought for its time.
Oh, for its time, it was a phenomenal movie.
It was the first movie ever that did the captured, or the found
captured
footage.
video, found footage. Yeah.
Yeah, the found footage thing. I mean, they went out of their way. Like they did before it came out, like they had a primetime documentary on how the characters of the movie were like obsessed with getting this documentary. I mean, like they went all.
They sold it. They sold the shit out of it, and it cost them basically nothing to make, like $100,000 total, and it made like whatever $30 million, and everybody was like, "Oh, holy shit! Here's our next, cash cow of movies." And then they started making all kinds of found footage movies after that. But
yes, they did, including the Bear Wench Project. Which I don't recommend you watch. Anyway, the Bell Witch, which is from Tennessee, is, I believe, because I haven't really, I read up on it, but I haven't really went back. I could probably find it. But
Katie Batts was her name. That was the witch's name.
Right. And so she actually, I don't want to say haunted, but she went after this family,
John Bell.
in the middle the Bell family, and pretty much like tortured them, and made them freaking crazy. But she would talk to them. She would be like this entity.
Yeah,
I think they thought it was a demon.
Right. Like it terrorized her daughter. Like it attached. She attached herself to their daughter and caused her daughter to go into these hysterical fits of like just pure hysteria. And then the father stepped up and he was like, leave my daughter alone and da 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 da. And they used to have all kinds of shit happen in the house. Like all this weird stuff would happen in the house. Animals would, the animals on the farm started acting really strange. All this stuff like that. The reason that I really like this story is because and to this day, and even though we've talked about this, and I think there are other cases, because I'm sure that there's been a case where somebody's been on a paranormal investigation, had a weak heart, something incredible happened, and they had a heart attack and died from a heart attack. So that, in the true sense of the words, was that person killed by the paranormal? Yes, they were. But this is really, truly the only documented case historically that a person was killed by an entity. Right, and that John Bell was actually poisoned to death, and they actually found a vial of some type of poison on his nightstand next to his bed that nobody has any idea where it came from. Yeah.
So from 1817 to 1821. So we're talking, at least 4 years here.
Right.
This family was pretty much tortured by this invisible entity. I mean, it's not like this woman came to the house and knocked on the door like, I'm going to get you, my pretty.
No.
And it could talk. This entity could talk. Like this voice would just ring out of nowhere.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, it would shapeshift. It would, you're talking full on ability of like magic ability, for this thing. It infected the environment. I think they had a whole bunch of, it says here, crossing long distances with superhuman speed. It's one of the only documented cases that of the entity killing somebody.
Right.
At least they think. I mean, who knows? Maybe he committed suicide because he couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, that the interesting thing is that after John Bell died, that everything subsided. And for 4 years, that family was terrorized. And it wasn't just the Bells. Like the Bells' relatives, their neighbors, and everything else would be at the house and witness this shit that was happening. Like they would witness this hysterics. They would witness stuff in the cabin, in the house moving, levitating, things disappearing, the animals acting strange, the animals going crazy for no reason. They would, hear the voices. They would see things out of the corner of their eye. Everybody, like there were numerous witnesses to this. One of the most well-documented cases ever for a haunting. And because it lasted so long. I mean, 4 years of terror. So even if John did take his own life, it's interesting that as soon as he passed, the night that he passed, everything stopped. So I mean, was her ultimate goal? Like one of the stories says that John Bell like offended her. took something from her or somehow like did something to her that offended her greatly and caused her wrath. Others say that they're not sure why it happened, you know.
Maybe that's the start of the phrase "Hell have no fury like a woman's scorn."
Well, it could be, right? Because I mean, she laid it on him thick for 4 years.
That's a lady who can hold a grudge.
That's a lady who holds a grudge. And supposedly, you can she's buried under a witch tree. You know what they consider to be a witching tree, down in Tennessee, and you can go down to Bell Caves. I know there's been a couple paranormal teams that have gone down to Tennessee and done the Bell Caves, and supposedly her spirit has been seen. I don't think it's there all the time, but has been seen down around the Bell Caves. Which, you know, I'm not going caving anyway, unless it's a big ass cave like you could drive. We've already had this conversation about how I'm not going into any caves where I got to go splunking or like suck in my gut to like slither through some wall. That shit's not going to happen. It needs to be a giant open space before I'm walking in there. But
yes, indeed. So, all right. Well, that does it for our show here tonight. Again, you're going to want to tune in next week, hopefully live, so you can watch either on our Facebook page or on our YouTube page, which you need to go and subscribe to. And we will be live on location at the LeDuc Mansion, where we will be talking with the director about the paranormal history and the history of the house in general. And then we will be doing a live EVP session live on the air. So join us for that next week, 7 p.m. Central sharp. And we'll see you then. So until then, everybody have a good evening. Stay